Welcome into another edition of The Rundown here on Big Rapids Daily News and News Radio WBRN. Brandon Wirt, Jack Heckman giving you the good stuff this Thursday afternoon. We got regional championships in girls basketball to recap. We'll also give shout outs to the boys in the quarterfinal rounds. Beale City, Ludington, job well done. Unfortunately, not going to Breslin this year for those squads, but still some great efforts. We'll talk about the postseason scores for girls basketball. The regional championships happened last night. We'll preview Petoskey and Big Rapids in a new location. Breaking news that we'll talk about in just a moment, as well as we'll backtrack into the district final for all of our local teams here on the show. But Jack, it's great to have it. Winter is somehow now crawling back. This is crazy. People are sick of it, but games are still going on and crowns and championship trophies are being given out.
Yeah, this is a great time of year. Unfortunately, the weather not cooperating this week.
No, it's like we're still in hockey season, but we're transitioning to basketball, but we don't want to let go of the ice and snow. I don't know what it is, but Mother Nature will figure it out, and we got it all covered here for you. Before we get started with our score recap, big thanks goes out to Denny's Muffler and Brakes and State Street in Big Rapids along Northland Drive. They can get you set up and fixed up with any of your vehicle repairs. A proud sponsor of The Rundown. Also, big thanks to Eagle Village. They are looking for people looking to impact the lives of youth and next generation. Find out more employment opportunities, eaglevillage.org/careers. All right, let's get into our score recap. We'll talk about the regional championships that happened this last night as we're recording on Thursday, so that'd be Wednesday, March 11th, starting with a barn burner that happened in Coleman last night. It was supposed to be in Lake City, but due to power outages was moved at the last minute. Both these teams had to shuffle their decks of cards before doing battle, and it was a great fight. I mean, Evart and Morley Stanwood, two teams we knew would be a good basketball game, Jack, and it certainly lived up to it. The Mohawks outlast the Wildcats with a little bit of a run late to win by 3, 48-45. I think this was a great game in terms of Evart played very well, holding that Morley Stanwood offense down to just 48. Not many teams have done that this year for an offense that averages 60 points a game. But I think it was just Morley Stanwood's early effort got them a big lead. And unfortunately for them, they were able to get back to it late in the game and hold off for a regional championship.
Yeah, it was hard for Evart to fight back into this one. Morley Stanwood, you mentioned it, took that lead in the first quarter. Kind of a little bit shaky in the second and third quarters, and then went on that run in the fourth quarter. The Mohawks, they got to be ecstatic at where they sit right now.
Absolutely. They'll have a big-time matchup upcoming. Do have some notable scorers for the Mohawks. Narat leading with 18, Madeline Kozak with 15, and Bongard with 9 in this game, as well as Evart was led by Elder and Bell with 16 and 11. Gray only held to 9, one of the best scorers that really haven't talked about in the area just because we cover the CSA so much, not as much the Highland, but she deserves all of her flowers for what a great season that she had there for the Wildcats. So Morley Stanwood will now move on, and they have a tough task ahead. They will be playing the winner of Menominee or Roscommon, two very good ball clubs, each with 18 and 19 wins overall in the season. That game will be happening on Tuesday. It'll be at a site to be determined. Looking at the other score as well, Kent City fights so hard against Hart. What a great basketball game this was. I mean, all these regional championships that happened last night were just barn burners in our local area and especially our listening area, which was great to see. But Hart gets the revenge after Kent City got the non-conference regular season win. The Pirates take home the regional championship 51-49. And Jack, I think for this Kent City team we talked about it in the playoffs, resiliency was the name of their game. They were down early, down, I believe, 8 in the first quarter. They were down 17 in that semifinal where they claw back against Saugatuck, but they still hung in there, fought till the very end. But Hart, and especially, I mean, you talk about such a great player in Reese Smith, just a little bit too much at the end of the day for the Eagles.
Yeah, the Pirates are on a little bit of a Cinderella run right now. They weren't really expected to win that district with Shelby and Shelby winning that conference. Hart had 3 conference losses. Now they've come in, won that district, and now won a regional. Hart's very happy, very ecstatic at where they're at. But Kent City had an incredible roster, one of the best rosters they've had really in a couple years. They've had some really, really good teams. So that is saying a lot with the talent the Eagles had this year.
100%. And I think for Kent City, really, it was a great season, and reading some of the local journalists as well for a lot of these coaches leaving comments. It was great to see all the positivity that they had despite losing in a regional championship, because a lot of the CSA teams really outperformed this year. That's been a broken record on this show, certainly indeed. But Hart's going to have a tough test. They got Niles Brandywine coming up, who's won 23 out of 24 games this year. So good luck to the Pirates. Also, one score that we will talk about and we won't break down in depth, but just briefly go over Mount Pleasant Sacred Heart falls to Onekama. Another 2-point game, 49-47. So great season for the Irish. They're just down over to the east of us here in our listening area. If we have any Sacred Heart fans in the building, great season for them. Onekama will now play the winner of Gaylord St. Mary and Frankfurt. That will be played here tonight. Also a game tonight, Big Rapids will be facing off against Petoskey. It's going to be a big-time matchup between the Northmen and the Cardinals. Now, important game note if you're watching this before you are making the travel. This game was originally supposed to be in Gaylord. Late change as of this morning at 10 o'clock. They are now moving that game to Traverse City Central. So that has now been officially moved, and that game will now be played at the home of the Trojans. So for Cardinal fans, I think we're like, you know what? Great, we get to save a couple miles on the tires, but the game is still going on Thursday at 7 p.m., March 12th, tonight, if you are catching this as this episode drops. And this is going to be a whale of a matchup here, Jack. Petoskey, Big Rapids, two big schools, two great athletic programs all across the board. But it's going to be a battle between two battle-tested teams that have made the regional rounds pretty much over 3 times over the last decade and even into the last 5 years.
These are two phenomenal programs with two phenomenal coaches. Something to note, though, with the location change, Petoskey did win their matchup at Traverse City Central, so a little bit more familiar with the gym because that is a conference foe for them. But the Cardinals, they're not going to be phased. These are two heavy teams going to work.
100%. These are two teams that have over 10 conference wins, that have won games at over an 88% clip on the road, and two teams that can score over 50 and hold teams under 40. So it's going to be a whale of a matchup between these two battle-tested programs tonight. You can catch that coverage with myself and Jack, Big Country 100.9, starting at 6:30 p.m. We got all the pregame coverage here for you, so all the stats, all the in-depth analysis you need for the matchup, and tip-off starting at 7 o'clock. So once again, that game, Traverse City Central, not Gaylord tonight. We'll also have on-air adjustments for you as we continue on throughout this Thursday afternoon. But it should be a good matchup. And I think, Jack, just to preview that really quickly before we go back into the early slate of games, this is going to be a battle, I think, really who's going to be able to really show out and score. We know Neray Fricke was in a huge part of this tournament so far for the Cardinals, averaging over 20 points a game. You look at Petoskey, they got a true freshman in Flynn that has just really, really been awesome. She was the big reason for that comeback win against Negaunee in that regional semifinal. So it's going to be a whale of a matchup, I think, of offense, but I think it's going to be a turnover battle between opposing defenses to try to limit whatever they can to the other team.
Yeah, the Cardinals have played two really, really tough defenses in the Fremont Packers and then past Monday against the Clare Pioneers. Both those teams gave the Cardinals issues in the first quarter, but then the Cardinals and Coach Heiss were able to figure it out later in that, and the Cardinals really picked apart the Pioneers' defense. We'll see what they can do tonight.
Absolutely, and I think the big note as well, Cardinals were able to get some big-time steals in that game. Looking at the comparison overall, they had 10 steals in that game and a lot of deflections, 19 of them against that young Pioneer squad. So I think that's going to be one note to watch. Can the defense be able to cause chaos for Petoskey? So that will obviously be something to watch here tonight. Good luck to the Cardinals. We'll see you up in Traverse City Central for those making that drive. Now we'll take a look and we will rewind back to the regional semifinal round here, kind of go in reverse for you here on the show. Big Rapids obviously got that 50-33 win over Clare, as Jack and I just discussed. Evart got to play Morley Stanwood with a win over Beaverton, 50-36. Morley Stanwood just thumped Glen Lake 71-43. And I think somebody actually went online and said, no, that can't be right, and put the score in dispute. But that was the reported score from multiple publications. So that was what was said. And then we talked Kent City a little bit. Win over Saugatuck, 72-67. First of all, one of the highest scoring basketball games we've seen on the girls' side all year long. Absolutely entertainment on the offensive side of the floor. And then also another game as well, Sacred Heart getting to play in that regional championship game with a win over Walkerville by 42 points. But Jack, out of all those results, what was the one that really caught your eye looking at that regional semifinal round for how well those teams played?
I think there's a couple on here. I think it's Morley Stanwood putting up 71 points on Glen Lake, and I think it's the comeback that Kent City made against Saugatuck with the 5-point victory trailing early on in that one. Kent City, such an incredible, you mentioned it earlier on the show, such a resilient team they had this year.
Absolutely. Freeland has been a big-time player for them. And you look at Morley Stanwood, Their posts have obviously been the focal point all year, but the guards are really picking up their length right now and being able to play well. So we'll see if it gets them to Breslin with the regional championship win. Also taking a further step back, let's take a look at Friday as we weren't able to recover those games in the district championship. Big Rapids knocked off Fremont 52-41 to win that District 35 crown. Looking as well, Evart took down McBain, an undefeated Rambler team. Third time's a charm for the Wildcats and Coach Gray, 45-37. Sparta knocks off Grant 37-10. Unfortunate end for Coach Smith's squad, but getting to the final, job well done. And then Morley Stanwood knocked off Beale City by 26. Kent City with a 10-point win, I believe, over Ravenna. And that was a big-time win for them, just being able to get over Ravenna, playing in Kent City, the boys' game, going pretty much toe-to-toe, and then Kent City runs away with it. And then as well, Baldwin coming up short to Walkerville as well, another local team in our area. But, for Big Rapids, I think getting over Fremont really gives them a really big-time confidence boost going into a club like Petoskey. Getting through Clare didn't seem like as difficult of a task with how confident they played despite the early issues offensively. So I think for Big Rapids, that big win against Fremont, which is a gauntlet of a district, really could boost them here tonight with that win over Fremont.
Yeah, most definitely. The Cardinals, such an experienced roster that's still yet they're young, a bunch of sophomores and juniors getting a lot of key time on that, but their experience in the playoffs, they know what it takes to get to certain positions. And that win over Fremont, such an incredible win for the Cardinals coming out of what was the toughest district inside Division II, without a doubt in my mind. This Cardinal team will for sure be ready, and this game really did get them ready for Petoskey.
Absolutely. And for Grant especially as well, for this team, new coach, a lot of new personnel on this year's team, just getting to that district championship's got to be such a great feeling for Coach Smith. This was a team that did not average over 40 points offensively for almost the whole majority of the year, that were scrapping and clawing in whatever games they could. The free throw line, oh my goodness, you could not have had a worse night at the free throw line in terms of just getting bad bounces if you were Grant in Sparta's gym. But I think it's still a job well done, and they should be praised for it. And I think especially for a lot of these other local teams, kudos to Evart. Beating McBain, an undefeated ball club, after losing the first two games of the season, never backed down. And yes, you had the home crowd on your back, and I'm sure that certainly helped it. And Wildcats should be very happy and ecstatic, despite the loss to Morley Stanwood, that their team got this far.
Yeah, most definitely. It was an Evart team that didn't have a whole lot of hype coming in. You mentioned the two losses to begin the season. This Evart team really bounced back. Again, it might be the word we've said the most. Resiliency was just a great way to describe this team throughout the season, able to put up points and defend their home court in a district game.
Absolutely. That is our local girls basketball recap here. It's a shortened show for you to get it out for you here this Thursday. So thanks for all that are tuning in. We'll have a full CSA recap, all the winter sports coming up next week on the show. Talk about all conference results and schedule and conference play, all the things. And so you can look forward to that. Be sure to subscribe. News Radio WBRN, Big Rapids Daily News on YouTube, as well as Facebook, as well as Instagram and X for all of your information and notifications on this show. Also, big thanks goes out to rivalsmi.com. Support your local team there. Free shipping on orders over $50, rivalsmi.com. Big thanks also out to Dazos Digital. Target your target audience with the experts at dazosdigital.com for your business in our local area. Jack, any last words before we obviously take the trek now to Traverse City tonight?
Yeah, if you guys can make it, go out to Traverse City. It's going to be a phenomenal matchup tonight.
100%. If you're supporting the Cardinals, you got to match Jack and I. Wear your red. It's going to be a great night indeed. Until next time, here on The Rundown, myself and Jack Heckman saying so long. We'll see you next week here on WBRN.